I've been able to use this in much of my therapy. It enables me to get an understanding of what people really are sort of wishing from me and from therapy in their lives, the agendas that they don't realize, and working with them in a way that helps foster that capacity for them to figure that out themselves so that they can start to slowly build their ability to reflect on what they're up to and how they can respond to changes in their world.
We talk about psychotherapy as a discipline, and I feel as if, at least for me, the way in which that is most true is I pay a lot of attention to what goes on in me, what I think, what I want to do, what my reactions are. And in North America, people are often frightened of their reactions, or therapists are told, you shouldn't have a strong reaction. That's not professional. You shouldn't be angry at your patient, or you shouldn't, want to do this or that. And because it will lead to some boundary violation and you'll run off and marry your patients, or you'll be like Bonnie and Clyde and rob banks or something, or who knows. But I think this is such an important clue to know what someone else wants. And for me, the agenda is as complex as it is in any other complicated human interaction, such as a date or a job interview, or you meet your brother-in-law for the first time at a family picnic. And people are going to want things, and they're going to want things that they're partially aware of that may change, and they may disclose or not disclose those things, and disclosing them may feel risky. It may feel like they don't want to say. And like a date, it may change. You may end up wanting things you didn't want. And that may change as you get to know that person. So what is it that's happening? What's going on with Kathleen's person, or my guy who is the retired criminal and he's finding it difficult? And so I look for, so the idea would be that this is a great chance for a patient to get a sense and to think about themselves as wanting something in the moment. They can see themselves trying to do it, and they can think with you about it. And in that sense, you are co-observers of this and can jointly wonder about it. So, and this takes place, in goal setting, but this is still something different, which is like when you sit down, what's the mission? What is the person trying to do? So my patient, who is the man who is the retired criminal, what he ends up doing is in one really sort of pivotal session, is like, I got a question for you. Do you think you're helping me? Do you think you've done anything at all that's helped me? And very angry guy, like every problem on earth he seems to have. And I remember listening to that and wondering, okay, what is the agenda? What is he really asking me? And so in part, he might want to know, is this going anywhere? That could be, but let's assume there's more to it. And I felt like there was more to it. But I thought for a little bit, and I said something to the effect of, well, we've met about this many times, and I'm not sure I've helped you at all. In fact, I guess if I had to come down to it and tell the truth under oath, no, I don't think I've helped you yet. Do you think I've helped you? And I remember him looking somewhat shocked at me, as if he was kind of trying to see if I was going to lie or not. So that's one agenda. Will I fib? Will I admit this isn't going anywhere? He's like, no, I don't think you helped me at all. And so there are so many possible agendas in this moment. He wants me to apologize. He wants me to give up. He wants me to admit I'm terrible as a therapist. He wants me to admit this is a bad relationship and it's my fault. There's a whole universe of things he may want, and he may want them all. But what I end up, I chose one, and the one I chose was, I think he wants to see if I'm going to give up or not. He wants to see if I'm getting sick of him and how difficult he is, because I saw him very much as sabotaging our connections and our conversations. So what I said to him was, well, all right, so we're in agreement. This hasn't done any good so far. But if you're also asking me, am I about to give up? Nah, not even close. And he's like, yes, that's what I wanted to know. And it was sort of like a turning point. Like, if he's not going to play nice patient and get better and make me feel good about myself, am I going to quit? The patient comes to see me, and he's a young guy with psychosis. And he's like, oh, doc, you got to turn the thermostat down. It's too warm in here. So want to know, okay, what are you telling me? What is this? Is this you're uncomfortable in here? Is it just too warm and turn the damn thing down? What's going on with it? So I'm like, okay, you're warm. Are you asking me to turn the thermostat down? I just asked him. And he goes, no, that's not it. And we talk a little more, and he's feeling anxious, and he's been nervous and sweaty all day, and he's feeling like he's hyperventilating and he's worried about something. All right, so you're telling me you're worried about something. What's the message here? And he's like, I've been hearing voices, and you've got to help me with coping skills. So it's like A+ CBT patient, probably would go in the Beck Hall of Fame, and his picture could be like in the waiting room with that presenting problem. So I'm like, okay, so what you need help with hallucinations? But what's going on? I remember asking him that, and he's like, well, the deal is that there's going to be a family picnic, and I don't want to have symptoms at the picnic. I don't want to spoil people's fun. You got to give me some coping skills. So we talk a little more, and any suggestion I have is impossible. The voices are just getting worse. And I feel like, so now I take my own feeling. I feel like I'm supposed to tell the guy, you are so sick, you can't possibly go to this. It's all right if you don't go. Don't worry about it. Don't go. You're a very sick man. So that's what I feel. That's what I want to do. I don't do that, but I do say to him, I feel like if I'm a good therapist, I should tell you that you're much too sick to go and you shouldn't have to go. And moreover, I should tell you, anyone who expects you to go is a cold, heartless jerk. And he laughs. And he's kind of like, yeah, I was looking for that. And the more we talk, what comes up, this is his agenda. His agenda is for me to write him an excuse, tell him he doesn't have to go. And so you can see we've gone from, I need coping skills, it's too warm, to he and I are thinking about himself. Same thing with the guy who has that vulgar beginning to the session. Same thing with the guy who says, are you helping me? You're not helping me. We're suddenly wondering, what are you really looking for? What are you asking for from me? And can we understand that? And the patient with the picnic, he ends up thinking about how much of his life he's gone to people in authority to help him avoid things that he feels he'll be overwhelmed at. And in fact, he could recall times when he was in high school going to the nurse because and she would tell him he didn't have to take a test because he was too stressed out. And the real deal is he's very jealous of his siblings because they have spouses, they have jobs, and he's never been able to have that. And he feels small and unimportant and very jealous of them. And that's something that he finds really hard and difficult. So we've ended up again with a reflective set of conversations, sort of thinking about what it is he wants. And I feel like sort of the key here is in beginning the session with letting the person begin the session. It doesn't mean I don't have my own thoughts, but wondering what they're up to. I find myself wondering when someone says, I'm hearing voices, that's how they start. Or they could be, did you hear about the terrible floods in Iran? What are you asking me to do? So obviously the usual therapist here says, I want to make my voices stop. Could be see that I'm vulnerable. Don't notice I'm doing drugs. Could also mean, please notice I'm doing drugs. This is a hint. Praise me for being a good patient because I'm sharing something with you that's a symptom. Don't ask too much of me. Don't criticize me today. I don't know what to say. I'm just blabbering. I'm at a loss for how to talk to you. And what's tricky is that all of these things could be true at the same time. It could, Kathleen, you or I or Robert or I, we might find a different agenda to talk about. And so in Merit, you don't have to find the right agenda. You just want to talk about it. So you and that human being can talk about something about them that they want and are looking for. And a key point, if you'll allow me to do one last little slide, is basically someone else could come in and say, what kind of mood are you in today? And they could want to tell you exactly the same things as I'm hearing voices. It could mean, tell me about your mood, but it could also mean, see, I'm vulnerable, don't notice I'm doing drugs, praise me for being a good patient, don't ask, don't criticize, I don't know how to talk to you. So you're not relying on some sort of blind faith to make sense of what that human being wants, just like, hey, you don't do that on a date. So the person you're out on the date with may want particular things that you have no interest in. They may intuit that, and there's no way they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you something quite different. You'll form a sense of what they're interested in. You'll form some idea of what's going on. And then that's the basis, I think, for understanding what they're seeking. And at least for me, theoretically, that's something that precedes goal making. So I'm going to go back to the fifth slide. Here's a fifth slide that as someone makes meaning, as they make sense of stuff, as they have a sense of their agenda, then any number of other possibilities can open.
I went to a talk recently. Bruce Wampold was in Australia, and he was talking about us forming an impression of the other person, talking about and he says that judgment comes within 5 milliseconds of one human meeting another human, because it is so deeply hardwired in us.
I think it's fast, it's automatic, and what we're looking to bring these things as into some sense that can be jointly reflected upon. And I think these are lightning fast activities that we're talking about, not slow, deliberate reflection. It's not like someone reasoning like Kant's Critique of Pure Reason, where it's going to be by the end of the 400 page, you'll understand the universe. So one story that captures it for me is I was traveling years ago, and I was in Madrid for a conference and then in Tel Aviv for a conference. And in both places, I got out of the elevator in a strange hotel, and I saw someone I knew. And one of those people I really liked. And I think I knew that I liked him before I recognized who it was. So I'll tell you who that was. It's Martin Bruna, who's an evolutionary psychiatrist. So I just really like him. I don't know why. I don't know if there's a good reason for it, but I have a really warm reaction to Martin. And if you told me you get to spend, 6 hours and have a long dinner and then go for a long walk with Martin, that's fantastic. The other guy I see, I realized right away I don't like him at all. And he, by the way, is a brilliant scholar. I went to his talk and I learned a crap load, but I don't like him. And if you told me I had to spend 6 hours with him, I think I would feign a headache and, go out drinking or something. So, I mean, these ideas they happen lightning fast. Our reactions to people do happen fast. And I think it's going to be the same when we sit with people. And there's nothing wrong with finding people boring or feeling mobilized by them. You want to use it, though, to jointly reflect. Because you're actually not going to go have dinner with them. You're getting paid money to do this. And you might actually help them to suffer less. I feel like another thing that North American therapists hate is they hate to be confused. And they feel like it means they're inadequate and dumb. And they should go sell toe rings at the mall or something and give up on psychotherapy. And actually, if you're with someone and their life is a mess and everything is crazy, much like Kathleen's patient's story, or my guy, who is any of the guys I talked about today, the guy who's ranting and raving about the VA, then it's natural to be confused. That's a state of awareness that can be named and seen as a subject for reflection. And it can be purposeful.
One good thought begets many other good thoughts. And I think your story really goes to this fundamental need of humans to be understood by the other and mind. And I'm very taken with this idea. It really comes from Ferrer, the idea you need two minds to have a mind.